The first time I, as a white person, ever danced with a person of color was in the streets of South Africa. Thousands of people lined the streets from all different backgrounds, socioeconomic, religion, gender, and everyone came together to celebrate the end of an oppressive political era of apartheid. It was a joyful moment. It was also the moment when I was starting to fall in love with a guy that I was going to marry and enroll in design school. So I had I envisioned a beautiful future of racial integration, of doing meaningful work, and of being happily married. Fast forward 15 years, and instead of standing in the incarnation of my dream, I awakened to its antithesis. My country is still deeply divided along racial and socioeconomic lines. My work does not close the economic gap, but keep people in poverty, and the happily ever after thing didn't happen for me. So I decided I need to change. So I changed everything I could. I changed continents and hemispheres. I changed hairstyles. I changed careers. I got divorced and got a new boyfriend. And very importantly, I changed from PC to Mac. And I wish that I can tell you that a triumphant ending to my change story, but no, my first train ride out of Chicago tells me that the US is still deeply gripped with racial segregation and oppression. In my new job, I find my hope that corporate America is free to act in the best interest of the world just die in the first few meetings. And my new relationship does not bear fruit. It dies quickly because I am the one giving up my voice to keep the peace, and it's unsustainable. So I feel like trust is broken between me and the world. Why is it so incredibly difficult for us as humans to be grounded in a sense of sufficiency, to notice our interdependency and really take care of one another? This question really matters to me because I come from a long lineage of people who have taken power over one another. In my lifetime, I experienced men taking power over women. My parents, white people, were taking power by law over people of color. My great-grandparents were chucked into concentration camps by the British, and my great-great-grandpapa in France was chucked out of Europe by the Catholics. And then our great-great-great-great-grandparents, the Homo sapiens, killed off all the Homo erectus. Are we, and I'm not even talking about environmental harm, are we as a species doomed to repeat our patterns of taking power over one another for our own success or well-being? We are the ones enacting those patterns. They're not happening to us. We are the world. So if we, as individuals and collectives and groups, enact patterns of exploitation, if we enact patterns of displacement, or if we enact patterns of segregation, then it doesn't make sense to believe that a positive societal shift alone will come from an outside force like a great hero, or the intervention of a deity, or that just new technology that we are going to discover, or the things that you've probably all experienced, a new department, right? The patterns that we are enacting is made up of us, and if we're constantly deferring our hope and our power to something outside of us that's going to change it, we not only disempower ourselves, we miss out on the delicious, wonderful, difficult opportunity to become and create the change we want to see, because we can steep ourselves in our sufficiency, notice our interdependency, and act with great care and kindness and honesty to one another. The question then for me is, how do we change? We've all chucked away our New Year's resolutions, so we know change does not come by choice. Change comes when we engage in a journey of transformation. And there's a lot of people out there who have documented their journeys of going through a process of transformation that we can learn from. They go through a process where they painfully shed their current way of being and identity in the world, and then relearn a new way and identity in the world. And their journey looks something like this. Very easy. We can all do it. When you zoom in, you see that there are crossroads that you get to in that journey. And I like to think of those crossroads as monsters. They're monsters because they're invisible, they're powerful, and when you meet that crossroad or that monster, you really have a choice. If you meet it with resistance and you don't want to go forward, you will stay back in your old pattern. But if you meet it and you get to know it and you get to move through the discomfort, you can carry on your journey of transformation. So I would like to speak to 3 of those monsters: limiting beliefs, fear, and past pain. It's very easy for me to see where other people are believing things that are really stupid, right? But it's very hard to see those things in myself, especially when I surround myself with people like myself. So not long ago, a group of people, wonderful group of people, working really hard to change the behavior of people who abuse animals, found out that their strategy was not working. And in this moment, we are sitting with them and asking them, what do you believe about those people who abuse animals? And now they're making a map of all their beliefs, their pain points, their relationships. What do we believe they believe? The next moment, someone who has been actively abusing animals walks into this room, and this group of people, having practiced suspend their judgments, sit and they listen with openness. When the gentleman leaves the room gets quiet, and they say, oh, we've had it wrong. Those moments when he was acting abusively towards animals, and we thought he was careless, in that moment, something cringed in him. And instead of saying, hey, we know this is difficult, we're here for you, we were saying, shame on you. So I would like to invite you, when you feel friction in your life or in a relationship, stop. Write down, what am I believing about this person, about this thing? And look at your beliefs. Question them. More important than put them in conversation with reality, and allow the beliefs that are unhelpful to fall away. And as we continue to do this, we can rewrite our belief systems. The second one is fear. And fear is a very helpful thing because it's helped us evolve to this point. But if we want to continue evolving as a human race, not as individual nations and collectives, we need to overcome our fears. This is a group of middle-aged managers, and their world is changing, and they're afraid. And instead of saying, buckle up, boys, we're saying, wait, let's name your fears. And people would write down, I'm afraid of the unknown. I'm afraid of leaving behind people I care. And now we have something to work with. We can work with those fears. This is a public event in Pittsburgh. People from different, from policemen to pedestrians, different races and religions, all came together with the intention to practice having difficult conversations. Because when we are having a difficult conversation, we can see each other as the enemy, and when someone says something different to us, we can feel scared. We want to act in self-protection. When we're scared, we act scary. We minimize the other, we judge, we blame, or we give up power to keep the harmony. So in this moment, we're practicing being together across difference, and we're practicing feeling fear, but not being moved by fear. Just, here is the discomfort, but I'm going to stick to my value, and I'm not going to give up on your value. So I want to invite you to, when you feel fear, to welcome it, to name it, to let it be, and to care for it. The last one is our past pain and trauma, and that's a difficult one because so much of our current reality is built on human beings having done really horrible stuff to one another. And when we do horrible stuff to one another and we don't acknowledge it and heal it, it gets lodged in our bodies as unresolved trauma. And research shows us that if we don't heal our trauma, 2 things happen. We perpetuate it onto future generations. And we reenact subconsciously our trauma, and we deepen the us-them divide, we deepen the distance and the distrust. So our generation have inherited a lot of trauma, and we're invited to stop running and stop denying and to look it in the eye. Here are a bunch of students. What we've done is people have gone back and looked at their national histories of the patterns that have been passed down. And they make a genogram of their own family history, and they look at the patterns of abuse and of care that has been passed down. And they're making art, because art helps us speak about things that are sometimes unspeakable. They're making art that looks what is most painful and shameful in the eye, and they're starting to express it, because it's when we look at it, when we grieve it, when we feel it, when we express it, that it gets integrated into us. So I want to invite you to not to run and not to numb. When you feel the pain coming up, don't go to overwork or peanut butter or whiskey. Feel the pain. It's hard, I know from experience, but feel the pain and speak the stories and heal, because it's when we engage in this process as healing that we can become the healed world. The future, the better future that every one of us longs for, is not some dream in the sky. It's an unwritten script. And each of our lives are a line inside that script. If we are asleep, if we are unconscious, we will live out the beliefs that we've inherited from our parents. We will be driven by our subconscious fears, and we will unconsciously reenact our trauma. So the invitation for us is to awaken, to realize that we are the world, to realize that we can engage, however difficult it might be, in the process of transformation ourselves and become and create the change we want to see. And I hope that future generations will look back at us and say, they were the generation who realized that the change is not out there somewhere, but in here among us. And they did the good work of engaging in a process of transformation and becoming and creating the whole healed, life-sustaining world we now have. Thank you very much.